Alright guys, so this is probably the most busted pure Netrunner build in Phantom Liberty. It can deal up to 100k damage, makes even very hard difficulty not so difficult, it can replenish and instantly regenerate RAM, and do all of this while never being detected by enemies. You can literally drop in the middle of a pack, take somebody down, and nobody will bat an eye. Unless they bug out, then they might look around, but they will never find you. So to make this build work, you only need 4 Quickhacks casted in the correct sequence, which is going to give you all of these benefits like cloaking from enemies, giving you a ton of damage, RAM regeneration, and RAM cost reduction, so that you can continue almost indefinitely in a almost self-feeding kind of loop. So that's why we're going to start things off with abilities like the Sonic Shock, which is going to be completely untraceable and will make any subsequent quick hacks after it also untraceable. But at tier 4 and above, it also comes with the cloaking ability. So if you take down a target, their own allies will literally ignore them. You can literally take down a target in front of its allies and they will never bat an eye because the cloaking ability completely hides that target from their sensory systems. But we also have a bunch of damage nukes like the Short Circuit, which I'm using a tier 5 iconic version of. And on top of that, also the Reboot Optics, a control quick hack that we cast after this, which is not just going to buff the damage on our Short Circuit with the Cyber deck that we use, but also further reduce the damage on the next ability, the Synapse Burnout, by more than half. So all in all, this right here is going to deal a ton of damage. It's almost always going to recuperate at least 85% of the RAM that you just consumed. And you might even get excess RAM on top because of the way certain perks and synergies work in this game. And all in all, you're going to deal up to like 50, 60, 80, even 100k damage, depending how much crit chance and damage you stack. So everything in this video has been filmed on the very hard difficulty, just so you can see how strong this build is. Now, a couple of things you should definitely know before proceeding. One, head over to the Dogtown Netrunner right here at the stadium. He has a good chance to actually sell you iconic quick hacks. Like for example, I just got the Short Circuit, which is significantly better than its normal variant of tier 5, basically giving me a lot more damage for each stack of Cyber Malfunction compared to the default one. And basically every single one quick hack has an iconic version you can either find from this vendor or from access points after level 50 or 55. But he also sells a bunch of Netrunner items like the helmets and the visors and all of those. Definitely buy them for the faster quick hack upload time as well as the time reduction. And you can also buy one of these Netrunner suits so that you can reduce any potential incoming damage from an enemy Netrunner. But another even more important tip is that you don't need to use tier 5 quick hacks for everything. It's just a waste of RAM. So especially for the covert or the control quick hacks, you can just stick to tier 2, 3 or 4 at maximum and keep the extra RAM for the ones that deal damage. That is why for the Sonic Shock, you can only go with tier 3 or 4 at max, since this is when you start unlocking the cloaking ability on it. Everything above it is just a waste of RAM. And the same goes with the Reboot Optics. We only need this to increase the damage on the Short Circuit and reduce the RAM cost of the Synapse Burnout. That is why we only need the green one, so that costs only 2 RAM, making it a really good option. Now for the Cyber Implants, we're going to use the Tetatronic Rippler MK5. This is by far the best for this combo. It gives you a plus 40% damage with combat quick hacks whenever you immediately follow up with a non-combat quick hack. And we always do that because right after Short Circuit, we will cast Reboot Optics, which is a control quick hack. So we always get that benefit. Plus, at the double upgrade level, it gives you a massive 12 max RAM. So in total, you can easily get like 36 plus up to 40 RAM depending on your setup. Now in the frontal cortex, it's where it's at. This is where you gain most of your damage. So if you use the Cyber Somatic Optimizer, you gain a massive 100% critical chance with all the quick hacks. This is what's going to give you those 100k damage boosts against enemies. Plus, if you upgrade this 2 times, its max RAM is only going to be a -4, essentially on the same level as the basic one from the base game. We also use the RAM reallocator. This is insanely good. It's going to recover 30% of your max RAM whenever you drop below 20% max RAM. But this has by default 75 seconds. However, if you invest 20 points into intelligence, which you absolutely will, it's going to further reduce that cooldown by another -60 seconds. So the end result in total, you will only have a 15-second cooldown on this amazing ability, meaning that you will rarely go out of RAM and can go forever dealing damage and recuperating everything. I'm also using the X disc. This just offsets the cost of the Cybersomatic upgrade, plus it gives me some extra quick hack upload speed. We of course also implement monowire, especially with the relic skill tree. Now you can slot a quick hack in it, and in my case I went with the cripple movement. It's insanely good. It just gives you a lot more melee damage. It also disables enemies movement, and even more so, it can make melee finishers appear more frequently and also give you more health and RAM back when you perform those finishers. So when you combine this with the multitasker and data tunneling, you can essentially spread the same quick hack on an entire max tac team, for example, and just completely cripple all of them while increasing your damage and your finisher possibilities against them. It's just insane how good it is with the relic skill tree. But besides that, we just go with everything that can give us some extra RAM regeneration, and since we're also using like melee attacks, I'm also going with the Dance Marrow and any other upgrade that gives us either melee attack speed or melee damage. I'm also going with the Neo Fiber and anything that can give me extra mitigation chance, as this is going to increase the likelihood that we go undetected against targets. I'm going to show that in just a bit via the cool skill line. And of course, we're going to implement optical camo. This kind of sucks on anything that uses like throwing daggers or anything with a reticle, like maybe, for example, using guns, but not on a Netrunner. You don't use any of that on Netrunning. That is why being invisible all the time is not going to be a hindrance anymore. And everything else from this point on is just the same, just recuperating HP, giving you some extra defenses, and so on. Which also brings us to the skill tree. So we're going 20 intelligence, 15 into cool, 15 reflexes, and 20 technical ability. Of course, intelligence and cool are going to be the most important. Again, copy these down or just follow the build planner down below. So starting with the intelligence skill line, there are 5 important passives here that will massively reduce the RAM cost for all of our abilities. One of them is the data recycler. So after neutralizing an enemy, we recover 80% of the RAM cost from all the quick hacks remaining in the queue, meaning that if our short circuit was enough to take down that target and, for example, Synapse Burnout didn't even get the chance to go into effect, we recuperate 80% of the cost of that Synapse Burnout. However, that 80% is calculated from the full cost of the Synapse Burnout, so 16 RAM, and even though we only cast it at half a cost because of the quick hack Q mastery. So that's going to give us more back than we consume with the Synapse Burnout. But on top of that, we also use Speculation, which when we neutralize an enemy with a combat quick hack, we recover equal to 25% of the RAM of the total cost of all quick hacks affecting that target. So we always gain 25% back of the cost we just used. We also have Ice Pick, which reduces our RAM cost by another point when we take down enemies with combat quick hacks after we also used, for example, control or covert quick hacks, which we always do. We also use quick hack root, which again is going to reduce that RAM cost by another point whenever we use different categories of quick hacks after the second one. So that's always going to be the case because we use combat, control, and then combat. So yeah, we at least get 1 point out of it. And finally, the Q mastery, which reduces the cost by half for the last quick hack in our queue. In this case, that would be Synapse Burnout. So instead of 16 RAM, it will cost 8 by default, minus all the other things in there. You can even bring that down to like 2 RAM, I believe. I've seen it on a couple of occasions at the very least. So you gain 80% of 16, but it only costs 2, which is absolutely insane. But from this point on, it's all about increasing that Q size limit. That's why you go with this line with Eye in the Sky, Hack Q, Q acceleration, and eventually the mastery, so that you can have like 4 quick hacks on the same target. I'm also with a lot of RAM recovery rate. You do need a ton of that. You don't necessarily mean the copy paste and the counter hack, since you will mostly go undetected. However, if you still find yourself detected by enemy Netrunners, you can just see them through walls and basically just cast Netrunner abilities against them through those walls. It can help dispose of them really quickly. Now, in the middle skill tree, of course, we're going to go with even more control duration with the subordination. This is going to help a ton with that reboot optics. You can just increase the duration on it. And we also have all of these other things in here like embedded exploit. This also helps a ton, by the way. It buffs our quick hack damage by 60% against enemies that are affected by control, quick hacks, covert, or even distract enemies, which we always will with the sonic shock and the reboot optics, meaning that we gain another 60% with the 40% and the 100% we just got from all the other sources. There's still a lot of room for the overclock and the spillover, by the way, since it gives you a ton of healing. You can also ignore the RAM cost for a little bit and consume a bit of your HP to cast them when you don't have enough RAM but you are still in combat. Plus, the spillover can make it jump to other enemies. Your Q and your synapse burnout can affect 2 enemies, for example, which is really nice. Everything else from this point on is pretty simple. In the cool skill line, we just need this ability called Blind Spot. So this is going to make it even more harder for enemies to detect us, depending how much mitigation chance we have. So that's why we pick all of these abilities right here. That's why I also went with the Neo Fiber. So in total, I have about like 60% mitigation chance when crouched, meaning that it's almost impossible for enemies to spot me unless I literally stay in front of them, right next to them, for at least a few seconds. Otherwise, they will not spot you at all. And there are a few more in here that help us with, for example, the Creeping Death. As we also incorporate optical camo, we gain HP and stamina back as we take down enemies when undetected or when we are with the optical camo active. And we can be with it active because we use Vanishing Act. So now instead of fully consuming its charge, we can consume it gradually when crouch sprinting, which we do all the time. We're even faster that way. So you're kind of like a creeping, invisible shadow that hacks everything, kind of like a hidden demon that never gets spotted by its enemies. We also go with the Edge Runner because we do need that cyber capacity. A lot of these cyber mods are very costly, so we need as much of that as we can. Plus, we can totally implement Edge Runner. This is going to trigger from Quickhacks as well, giving us more damage, crit chance, and critical damage. It absolutely stacks and works with our default build. And you can obviously also pick some points left over into reflexes. Dash is still very good if you want to escape a little bit and run away. You can totally do that, and it's absolutely a good idea to get that too. Now, outside of this, the only downside is that, the build is a bit squishy and relies a bit on staying in the shadows, meaning that if you want to fight specifically the max tac, you will likely have to drop the difficulty to hard or to normal. But it was one of the coolest ways to take down a full max tac team faster than almost any other build I've played with, maybe with the exception of the Byakko Katana build. But it is very good. You can stay in enemies' faces, spread the quick hacks with your mono wire, and constantly do finishers and then quick hacks against them, rinse and repeat, and you can totally take them down. This is possible on the very hard too, but you will likely need a maxed out cyber capacity so that you can get enough armor and damage mitigation to survive through that. Otherwise, a couple of stray shots on the very hard can kill you. So that is the only reason, but it's still possible to completely annihilate them on that difficulty too. And that is pretty much the build right here. Definitely one of my favorites in the entire game. Let me know down below if you're using any other quick hack combination and if you have the same results on the very hard difficulty. In the meantime, totally check out some of the other videos like the Adam Smasher 2.0 build or even the Katana build I just talked about. Both amazing and even easier viable options for the hard and very hard difficulty. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.